name's Amanda and welcome to the first of 9 block tutorials in my new Quilt Along With Me series. So the first block that we will be making in our half square triangle sampler quilt is this one. It is called Formal Garden. Personally, I've actually never made this block before now, but I actually really quite like it. I really love how the half square triangles give it a really cool type of movement, and it almost reminds me of the propeller block. Now you'll be able to find all of the measurement and cutting instructions for this block down in the description box below, and there is also a information / pattern sheet that you can print off from my blog, and the link to that is down there as well. In the info sheet you'll just find some extra information, all of the information about the fabric that I've used, and also some fun little facts about the block. Now before I get into showing you how to make this block, I just want to have a little bit of a chat about one particular tool that I will be using throughout all of the block tutorials, and it is this one. This is my big huge 12-inch set square ruler. So for all of my blocks in this quilt, I am trimming them down using this ruler. It is 12 inches, but it's also got a 1/4 inch seam running around the whole edge of the square, which means when you're trimming down the block, you'll also be leaving your 1/4 inch seam allowance, which will leave you a 1/4 inch seam around the edge so that you still have those beautiful points when you start sashing them all together. So just make sure that when you're trimming down your blocks over the next couple of weeks that you're trimming them down to 12¼ inches, and that you're not trimming down too close to the corners of your half square triangle points, because we want beautiful, lovely sharp points in our blocks when they're all sashed together. In block 1, I'm using 3 different fabrics. First is the Blue Sky Solid for the background, the XOXO Basics in Pink Cheeks for the center, and the Melissa print for the half square triangles. So to make this block, you will need to cut 4 5-inch squares from the background fabric as well as from the main print fabric, and then 1 4½-inch square from the second print fabric. Start the block by first making the half square triangles. To do this, lightly mark a line down the center of each 5-inch background square with a ruler and pencil. Pair these together with the 5-inch print squares, right sides facing, and place a pin in the center. At the sewing machine, place the right hand side of your 1/4 inch foot along the left hand side of the line and sew a 1/4 inch seam. Feed the next pair of squares through. Then once all pairs have been chain stitched together, remove them from the machine. Turn them around and sew another 1/4 inch seam along the other side of the line. After removing the chain of squares from the machine, snip all of the joining threads and then cut each one in half along the pencil line with a ruler and blade. Altogether, you should be left with 8 half square triangles. Next, press the seams on each half square triangle towards the print fabric using a medium to hot steamy iron. Then trim each one down to a perfect 4½ inches using a set square ruler. To do this, place the 45-degree line running along the middle of the ruler on top of the center seam line, while making sure the edges of the ruler are inside of the square. Once happy with the ruler placement, trim down the first 2 edges with your blade. Then spin the unit around, line up the 45-degree line again, and with the edges of the ruler along the 2 sides just cut. Trim down the last 2 edges, and that's a perfect 4½-inch half square triangle unit ready to go. Repeat the same set of steps to square up the rest of the half square triangles. Once your half square triangles are squared up, grab the 4½-inch square cut earlier and place the half square triangles around it in this design. Starting with the top row, flip the middle half square triangle unit onto the one to the left. Even up the edges and pin them together. Sew a 1/4 inch seam along this edge. Then at the ironing board, open the seams out first with your fingers, then with the iron. Don't forget to give the top of the row a good press too. Lay the row back into place and flip the other half square triangle unit onto the end. Pin the edge and then sew it into place using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Press the seam flat open like before and then give the top of the row a press as well. From here, repeat the same set of steps to piece together the other 2 rows in the block. Once all 3 rows have been pieced together, flip the top row over onto the center row. Line up the middle seams so that they're sitting perfectly on top of each other and pin them and the rest of the edge into place. Carefully sew a 1/4 inch seam along this edge, ensuring that all seams are sitting flat before sewing over them. Again, open up these seams with your fingers and then slowly press them flat with the iron. Add the last row to the block, lining up the middle seams and pinning the edge securely into place. Take your time sewing the last 1/4 inch seam, and then also when pressing the seams open. Finally, give the block a good press, and then using a 12-inch set square with a 1/4 inch seam allowance around the edge, trim the block down so that it measures 12 1/4 inch square. Make sure when trimming your block to be careful not to cut too close to the points in your triangles. We want nice sharp points when it comes to sashing them together. So there we have our first block in the series done. I really do hope you like this block. It's very simple and very easy to piece together. Like I said at the start of the video, I really do like the type of movement that this block brings, and I think it's going to look really great with all the other blocks that we will be doing over the next few weeks. Now, block 2 will be coming out on Friday, and I just have to say that I think this is one of my favorite blocks in the quilt, and I really do hope that you will like it as well. Now, I know that the block tutorials will be coming in thick and fast, and I don't want you to feel pressured to do them all straight away. Do everything in your own time, on your own schedule. You don't have to do it straight away. I definitely understand that people have lives to live and there's so many other things to do, so it's okay if you don't get them all done straight away. Do them in your own time and just have fun and be relaxed with it. So as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you another time very, very soon. Bye! And this is the range that I will be using. It is called The Sultan's Garden by Mary Maguire. This range was made in collaboration with RJR Fabrics, and to go along with these prints I am also using these 2 beautiful XOXO basics from Cotton and Steel.